Welcome to episode 4 of this little college football podcast thing. We're looking into week 2. We're going to talk about week 1. We're going to talk about how fucking right I was about week 1, just FYI. So let's start right now. I'm feeling pretty good because I was right about LSU. I said they were overrated. I said they were done. And they are. They are overrated. And, well, they're not done. I don't think they're done. Let's not kid ourselves here. They got too much talent. A 10-win season is very achievable for LSU, and an 11-1 season is not out of it's not out of this world to think that they can go 11-1 either. We don't know enough about Bama yet, anyways. I was pretty wrong about Florida State. I thought they would look pretty bad too. They still have a season ahead of them, but unfortunately, I was also wrong about Clemson, who looks really bad, and they lost to a not too great Duke team. I know what you're thinking. Duke had 9 wins last year. Riley Leonard looks really good. How could you say this? They look like they also kind of look like shit most of the time. I mean, they were just bullying a shittier Clemson, but they made a lot of dumb mistakes just like Clemson did. So I'm not sold on Duke being a top 25 team yet. I'm not sold on Clemson being a top 25 team for sure. Duke can get there though for sure. Um, Speaking of Clemson, though, I mean, is Clemson done? Are they over? Is the dynasty dead? Is Dabo done? Dabo Swinney is over. Party. What are we thinking? I don't think Clemson is done. I think they might be for 2023. I think this season we may want to forget about if we are a Clemson Tiger, but as a program, I don't think they're done. I think as long as Dabo's there, and yes, he's not been great when he doesn't have a generational quarterback. He didn't really, master changing staffs like Kirby and Saban and others, who've won in the past. But this is a guy who got those quarterbacks to begin with. This is a guy who's beat Nick Saban twice in a national championship, one of which was a 44-16 absolute beatdown. So I'm not sold on Clemson being done. I think they're done with how they're going about things. I think that the transfer portal and the NIL are going to be huge selling points for Clemson going forwards. If Dabo Swinney is really against that, then as Josh Pate put it, which was pretty insightful, that I wasn't really even thinking this was an option, but Dabo Swinney, I guess if he's too prideful about the way he likes to do things and the old ways are better, and while I somewhat agree with him, he could just retire. He might just be done. He might just be so against the direction of the sport. And I mean, if he were to do that, his legacy would almost be cemented as a quitter. And I don't think he wants that. But I mean, he certainly doesn't want to dip into the transfer portal either. Um, yeah. So to talk about some other teams, I guess. Ohio State didn't look too pretty. Kyle McCord definitely needs to improve. But if I'm an Ohio State fan, I'm not going to panic. And even though I picked them to win the national championship game, am I panicking? Not at all. This is week 1. I don't really overreact to anyone in week 1 unless you got beat badly like LSU and Clemson did. I'm not going to overreact to Colorado, that's for sure. Or Bama. I mean, Michigan didn't show me anything, and that's why they're probably going to stay at number 2 for me. So there's that. Ohio State doesn't look that bad. Their defense is stellar. It's still top notch, maybe the best in the country. They'll be fine. Offenses take a little while to kind of progress. If your defense is good from the beginning, though, I mean, you're still going to be a stacked team in the Big Ten, and I wouldn't be too worried about it. Yeah. Florida, are we panicking? Probably, we should. I think for this year, but program-wise, no. I give Billy one more year. You might need to see another year of him just getting in a stellar transfer class and a good recruiting class. But if that doesn't really happen, then maybe it's time to let Billy go. But again, this is week 1. Utah's really good. And even though they lost to Utah's, backup quarterback, they're still one of the best teams in the Pac-12. So yeah, I'm not gonna worry about that. Texas Tech, okay, I did pick them to go to the Big 12 championship game. Might be stressing a little bit, but they have a good opportunity to kind of trap Oregon in West Texas this Saturday. So I'm not totally off the Texas Tech bandwagon either, but it's not looking great. Um, those are kind of the teams I wanted to talk about. I kind of wanted to go down my top 25 here with no graphics, so you can just listen to 25 teams. And no, out of the bat, Colorado and Duke will not be on here. Colorado beat a TCU team that we have no idea who is even gonna like be on that team. If we're being honest, I mean they lost everybody, and TCU didn't have any film on Colorado before the game. You were kind of we. I'm not. It was surprising. I'm not gonna take anything away from Dion or Colorado, but I mean, with hindsight, this is definitely a probability that a Colorado team with like 81 transfers can, go into to TCU, who lost everybody and has no idea what Colorado's about to put on the field, and Colorado can put up a splattering. Yeah, that's absolutely possible. And TCU could be no good, and Colorado could be no good. Colorado could still win 4 games, and that would be a great season for them. So let's pump the brakes there a little bit. I already talked about Duke. Number 25, I like SMU. They got a good game against Oklahoma, who is on my top 25. Number 24, I have LSU. You're 0-1, so figure it out. Number 23, I have Miami. I thought they looked pretty good. Nothing special, but I mean, 1-0 in Miami. And in my little universe, they're both Miami and A&M are both ranked going into their matchup because I'm a sicko like that. Number 22, Arkansas. People are not talking about them maybe having the best quarterback running back duo in the SEC. Number 21, Missouri. Had moments of not greatness, but I think they're going to be a really dangerous team in the East. Number 20, Texas A&M. A lot of improvements. Can we make it consistent though? And if A&M keeps that offense consistent and their defense just kind of holds on, yeah, they're probably going to be undefeated, maybe undefeated, and ranked in the top 10 when when Bama comes to town. So keep an eye out for that, I guess. Number 19, Tulane. Not much to say, just kind of going off of last year. Number 18, Oregon State. DJU. Man, dude, Clemson ran you out the building, and it's almost like if you build an offense around your quarterback and use his strengths with him and not actively have him play against his weaknesses, you could put up some points. You could look really good. DJU looks really good. Huh, who would have thought? Number 17, Kansas State. Again, they're 1-0. Can't say much about it. Number 16, Ole Miss. Offense looks good. They play Tulane, so we'll see how that goes. Number 15, North Carolina. Destroyed South Carolina. I was wrong about that game. Drake May looks really good. That team looks pretty solid. Better than Clemson. Number 14, Tennessee. I watched the game for a few minutes. Joe Milton missed some pretty easy passes, but at least he can throw it 90 yards. I'm not as high on Tennessee as others. Number 13, OU. I'm probably way too high on OU, but I thought they looked really, really good. You beat Butch Jones 73-0. Butch Jones is, after the Nick Saban treatment, probably no scrap. No too easy of a head coach to face off against. And it looks like they have talent. Maybe I should have been higher on OU in the preseason. Number 12 is Washington. Michael Penix, and the offense looks good. 11, USC. 10, Oregon. 9, Utah. I do think Oregon will win the conference. I think Utah has to be at the top of the list right now. They really handled Florida with their backup quarterback, and their defense looks like the best in the Pac-12, which is probably key to winning the conference this year anyways. Number 8, Ohio State. Don't panic, but yeah, I had to drop you a little bit. Number 7, Notre Dame. Really high on Notre Dame. Sam Hartman looks really good. Number 6, Texas. Obviously, I was high on Texas in the preseason. I have them going to the playoffs. I have them winning the Big 12. They play Alabama this weekend. I think Texas is really good. Number 5, Penn State. Drew Aller looks good. Penn State looks really good. Number 4, Florida State. Much better than I thought. They look like a really complete team. They could easily just tiptoe their way into the playoffs. Not tiptoe. No, they're going to bulldoze their way into the playoffs with that schedule. I mean, the ACC, other than North Carolina, I mean, if Clemson improves a lot, sure, but Florida State, I mean, they got that on lock, basically. Number 3, Alabama. Alabama looked a lot better than I thought they were going to in week 1. Again, they're playing Middle Tennessee. We'll see what we need to see against Texas, but there's some things that I saw in week 1 that I can maybe kind of figure that game out a little bit. Number 2 is Michigan. Didn't really see much. The Harbaugh stuff was funny. Number 1 is Georgia, because there's no reason for them not to be number 1. They didn't really do anything to hurt their case for number 1. So let's just go into week 3. Texas Tech versus Oregon. Texas Tech is at home. I believe the line is Oregon -6. Tech can cover the Oregon line. They can cover that spread because, I mean, you're taking Oregon It's in a nice little cold, wet, beautiful part of the country. Air is crisp, and you're putting them in West Texas, dude. There's going to be 3 sandstorms in that game. I swear to God. Like Lubbock's a little crazy. All right, Lubbock is a little nuts. I think Oregon will win because they just have too much talent, but Texas Tech can cover that spread. That game will be sneaky close. I think Lubbock will be pretty loud for that one. SMU plus 16.5. I like that a lot. I think SMU is really good. I think the hype of those kids maybe playing in the ACC has them maybe jumping around a little bit, last year in their respective conference. Last year in the G5, maybe they're trying to go to a New Year's Six or something. I think I'm just really high in SMU. I think they're capable of a lot. So Texas versus Bama. I like Texas plus 7. I wouldn't take them in the money line with my money. I do think they can win the game all offseason. I predicted them to win the game. So there's that. To kind of break down the game, I guess. I had UT in the preseason. That may have changed because, Texas, their O-line worries me. They were getting bullied by Rice. Quinn Ewers kept having to throw off his back foot, which is partially why he still can't throw the deep ball. He can't really do it when his feet are set, but his feet are almost never set because, you're getting bullied by Rice. I don't know. Is it by design before Bama? I hope so because it was really, really bad. But Texas's pros are their quarterback, Quinn Ewers, is obviously better than Jalen Milroe. At least we believe they are. Their wide receiver core is really, really good. Maybe the best in the country behind USC and Ohio State. Or maybe even they are the best in the country. You could definitely make the case that Texas has the best wide receiver room in the country. They're fast. Xavier Worthy might be the best receiver in the country. And this team's they got a lot of experience. They have a lot of guys from last year. They're a veteran team. They're an old team that's obviously really good because Bama's younger. They're not as experienced in bigger games, but they got the home field advantage. So UT's cons are kind of the line of scrimmage. Bama's offensive line is average 6'5", 350 pounds. And Texas has a good defense. They got the defensive line to compete with Bama, but I don't know. I don't see any defensive line, maybe outside of Georgia, being able to really get through that Bama O-line. And if Bama's offensive line can stop you, then, their running game is going to be extremely effective. They can run it with the tailback. They can, Jalen Milroe can use his legs. They really, and then the passing game will open up, and then you're going to get torched all night, and you're going to, that's UT's worst case scenario is that they get blown out, which if they played this game 10 times, I think one result would be Alabama blowing them out purely because they just keep consistently winning the line of scrimmage. But if UT can win some of those battles, then I think they have a chance. UT's on the road. That's not good, especially at night. All right, BDS is crazy. UT has that's not really BDS at night and Death Valley at night isn't really. I don't see that a whole lot in the Big 12. Sorry, not a hater. I just don't see it that much. But I don't think DKR at night really stands up to even Kyle Field at night. Kyle Field is probably the best thing they had. Maybe Kyle Field and Norman, Oklahoma State. Kyle Field is not in the Big 12 anymore, and Oregon's not going to be in the Big 12 anymore, and Texas never plays out Oregon. So they've never really seen anything like this. Their game against LSU a few years ago, LSU got canceled because of COVID. So, I don't think that Texas has really seen a road environment at night like this, and they're not going to until they get to the SEC. Last time they really got this was against Arkansas, and Sark, I don't believe, was there yet. But man, they shit the bed. They really sucked against Arkansas. They got blown out. They lost by 30. I can see that happening to UT on Saturday. I don't think it will, but I can see it happening. Bama wins the line of scrimmage for me. I think they're going to have a really good running game. I do believe that they will be able to run the ball in Texas, which is not good for Texas. I think Alabama's defensive secondary is inexperienced and young. But man, they're talented. I think Texas isn't going to have a defense. They're not going to play a defense all year that is going to be able to match up with this wide receiver room like Alabama. Not even in the Big 12 championship game. Maybe in the playoffs when they play Alabama again, per my preseason prediction. But yeah, they're not going to play a defensive secondary like Alabama's all season long. So that gives Alabama a bit of a positive. I think Bama's new staff is a positive. I think they're really going back to that just ground and pound style of football, just joyless murder ball. I think that is going to work in favor, especially for this defense. This Alabama defense, I think, could really look like the 2012, 2011, Alabama of old. Just mean ass defense. And the game is at home, and it's at night. So, yeah. Their Alabama's cons, I guess, were their injuries, but Malachi Moore and Jaden Key are confirmed to be back. They're practicing right now, so they will be playing Texas. A con is last year. If this Bama team looks anything like it did last year at all in this Texas game, Bama is going to lose. They're going to lose. Quinn Ewers is not getting hurt in this game. It's not going to happen. Bama's going to lose if that happens. So we better be right about this whole Bama's going to be back to being mean, because if they're not, Bama's going to lose this game. Another con is the new staff. Yeah, I think it's a positive, but they could totally choke this game away. Tommy Rees could be the sole reason why this game just blows away. I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Bama's worst outcome is that they have another last-second heartbreaking loss, which I could very easily see happening, as I did all offseason long. But I kind of just looking at it with my brain, my heart and my gut tell me that UT is going to win this game. Just because the world would flip upside down, and, it's week 2. We have to have one game in week 2 that flips the whole sport on its back. It's probably going to be this one, and so my gut says Texas. But if I were a betting man, I would take Texas to cover. But if Bama uses their size advantage effectively, then realistically, the game should never be in question. If Texas consistently burns the Bama secondary, then Texas will treat Bama like 2022 Tennessee and win the game. So I guess you just got to watch out for Xavier Worthy, but, Bama should narrowly beat this game purely based off of how often they win the line of scrimmage, 28-24. And I would take the under at 54.5. So that's my official prediction. Bama 28, Texas 24 for Texas versus Bama. But if I'm a Texas fan, I am not too upset about that. And conversely, if I'm an Alabama fan, I'm not taking this Texas loss too bad. I think Texas is really good. I think if Texas beats Bama, they're going to run the table. They're going to they're going to the playoffs, though. They're going to the Big 12 championship. You're going to the playoffs. And all you got to do, Bama, is run the table. And you're Bama. They've been talking a big game all offseason, how this Bama team is going to be back. Well, you can lose to Texas and still be back. But you have to prove it the rest of the season. So you got to go undefeated the rest of the way at College Station, LSU, Tennessee, and then you will have to beat Georgia or Tennessee in the SEC championship game. So Texas can afford the loss a lot more than you can. Excuse me, but if you're Alabama, a loss, I'm not too worried about it. I really wouldn't be. I think Texas is really good, and I think Alabama's really good. I think Alabama's going to win 28-24. I could see Texas winning this game 31-28. Last second field goal, of course, because Bama doesn't lose unless it's absolutely just awful. Yeah, Bama just looked better than everyone thought, but it doesn't mean anything. So, Middle Tennessee. So, yeah. So, I guess there's more games in week 3, isn't there? Sorry. I'll take Ole Miss minus 7.5 over Tulane. I'm really high on Ole Miss this year. Tulane can still have the same season they did last year with a 8 to 10 point loss. It's absolutely possible. Ole Miss is really good. They have too much talent to really be challenged by Tulane in that kind of way. Tulane has it at home, so that's probably why I wouldn't take Ole Miss minus 10 if that was it. But I like 7.5. I like Ole Miss. I also like A&M minus 4.5 at Miami. A&M, they looked a lot better. It really just falls on what Jimbo allows the offense to do. If the offense is allowed to sling it, they're going to beat Miami. They just have more talent. That's the truth at the end of the day. It's just a talent gap. Kind of like Colorado TCU. Colorado had more talented players, That's all it was. So, yeah, I like A&M in that one. I think I like minus 4.5. I'd probably take it up to minus 6. Yeah, I like Wegman. I think they're going to be really good. So, I would really crush that Notre Dame minus 7.5. I really, really like Notre Dame on the road in this one. I think Notre Dame is going to just bulldoze everyone all season long until they don't. But that's for later in the season. But yeah, NC State, they're pretty good. I mean, they might be pretty good. They kind of struggled against their FCS or G5, whatever they played. I think they gave up like 14. They didn't put up too much. So I don't know. I like Notre Dame minus 7.5 a lot. I think they're really underrating Notre Dame here. I wouldn't touch Utah minus 7.5. I honestly think they could beat Baylor, or Baylor could beat them. Like I really do. Baylor lost to Texas State. Texas State is like the worst team in FBS, but they had like 40 incoming transfers over the offseason. So Baylor got hit with a Colorado essentially. You don't have film on those guys. Now, should Baylor have lost that game? No, it's embarrassing, and you should be embarrassed. But they didn't know what to do. I mean, you know what I mean? Like they didn't have any film on Texas State. Baylor could just go out and beat Utah, especially if Cam Rising isn't playing, and absolutely beat them at home. Of course, dude. Waco's crazy. Absolutely, they can win at home against Utah without their starting quarterback. So I'm not touching that line. I wouldn't touch that game at all. I wouldn't touch the under, the over, any of the point spreads, no money line, nothing. I'm not touching that game. To predict it though, maybe Utah, maybe. My gut really says that Baylor's going to win that game. Without Cam Rising, I don't know. But I mean, Utah could win like 48-0, and Baylor just fucking sucks this year, and I was wrong. Which Baylor probably does fucking suck this year. They lost to Texas State, so. And then I like Auburn minus 6.5 at Cal. Yeah, I thought Auburn looked good. I don't think Cal. I mean, the Pac-12 was undefeated. I don't think Cal is really. I don't know. Talent-wise, they're not really going to match up that well against Auburn. It's Auburn, you know. So there's my week 2 predictions. Never really got to talk about the ACC adding SMU and Cal and Stanford. It's dumb as shit. Pac-12 is dead. Okay. I do want to talk about SMU a little bit because they have a stadium that holds like 10,000 people, but they're so rich. It is a beautiful campus, private school. They have just the most money. They can build a 100,000 seating stadium tomorrow if they wanted to and just put themselves back on the map purely because they're switching conferences. I really hope that we're seeing a transition in the sport that allows schools like those G5s moving up to the Power 5 to become like perennial contenders in their respective conference and maybe nationally. So yeah, I think SMU is on the rise. I think they have a chance of beating Oklahoma. So I don't think they will, but they have a chance. I can't wait to see what SMU does with this opportunity. I mean, I would love to see like a massive SEC big ass stadium down there in Dallas. It'd be really cool. But yeah, short episode today. I was just kind of wanted to talk about some games. So that's kind of it. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your NFL Sunday too. It's exciting. Fall's back.